Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 196. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. How would you like to join and invest in a community where Black investors can fund Black businesses for as little as $100? Meet Cheree Warrick, co-founder of the 10K Project. Welcome, Cheree.
Thank you so much for having me.
I have given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and your business?
Sure. So the 10K Projects is the nation's largest community of Black investors who are funding Black businesses for as little as $100. And the concept is really simple. When 10,000 of us get together, we put in $100 each. That's $1 million. We can start funding our own businesses. We can profit from our own innovation. We can create more jobs in the community, and we can help build Black wealth and help close the wealth gap as well. So it started out with me being a business plan writer, and I've been a business plan writer for a decade now. And as a business plan writer, people would come to me because they would usually want to raise money for a business. They had an idea or they were expanding and needed capital. And I would always ask, once I write this business plan for you, who are you going to present this business plan to? People from other ethnicities would usually have an aunt, an uncle, the fraternity brother that they've known for years, the venture capitalist that they've known for years. And they would say to me, Cheree, if you write the business plan, I've got the people to pitch it to, right? People from our ethnicity in our community usually didn't have those types of relationships where they could go to someone and get a $50,000 check, a $100,000 check or more. So I also noticed that there was this huge community of people who wanted to buy Black. And I thought, if people buy Black, maybe they would invest Black too. So funny story is 3 years ago, I started talking about this, but I had no intention of doing it. I was saying to this group of people, the same thing, if 10,000 of us got together and we put in $100 each, that's $1 million. We could start funding our own businesses. But I'm trying to give this idea away to somebody else. And finally, in a meeting one day, someone looks at me and says, when are you going to do something about that? And 4 other people coerced me into doing this. So we put some money in a pot and we started talking with people, and we got an overwhelming yes as a response from both people who could be potential investors as well as entrepreneurs to put this together. And that was the genesis and the beginning of the 10K Project.
And you are one of several co-founders of the 10K Project. Do you want to share or give a shout out to the other co-founders?
Of course, I love my co-founders. They are absolutely my rocks. So the second person, there are 5 of us total. So the second person is Tawana Rivers. She is an HR executive, human resources executive, and she, within our business, is the chief operations officer. So she's the one that works with legal and the entire structure of the organization. Then we have Talisha Shine. She is the healthcare technology expert by trade. And within our company, she is the Chief Technology Officer. She found the platform that we're going to be using. This platform that she found was developed by a former Securities and Exchange Commission employee. And she's the one to make sure that all the technology runs seamlessly for the organization. The 4th person is Dr. Keisha Waddell. She is an educator by trade. She works for the Detroit public school system, and she, within our organization, is the chief instructional officer. So one of the things that we believe within this organization is that training, education, financial literacy education, entrepreneur education is so important to us as a community. So Dr. Keisha is working on pulling together our knowledge center, which is going to be so essential to our success. And then the final person is a man, because we always get asked about, do you have a brother on board? So we do. His name is Eric Spence. By trade, he actually is in the music publishing industry, but within the 10K Project, he is our Chief Business Development Officer, and he is the person responsible for working with any entrepreneur that wants to be considered for funding on our platform. He is working on pulling together our guide for businesses who want to be considered for funding on the platform, and works with entrepreneurs to get them through the process of being placed on the platform and successfully raising funds.
So have you guys officially launched, Cheree?
So we have a soft launch right now, and what that means is we have membership open. And I want to take a time and just kind of explain how the entire process is going to work, and then come back to where we are now in that process. So there are 3 groups of people that we're bringing together under the 10K Project. The first group of people are entrepreneurs who want to raise money on the platform. The second group of people are investors. These are people who have $100, $200, even a little bit more, that they would want to invest into Black businesses. And then the third group of people are the business support services. Those are people like CPAs, bookkeepers, accountants, lawyers, writers, because so many people, entrepreneurs will raise money, and then they usually do that in order to hire specialists or employees to help the business grow. So where we are right now in the process is assembling and pulling those 3 groups of people together. And we're doing that in terms of membership. These are people that are raising their hand and saying, yes, I really like this idea, and I really want to be a part of it. As a member, you could choose to be just an investor. You could be somebody who is offering your services to entrepreneurs. You could be an entrepreneur that wants to raise funds, or you could be all 3. We are also in the process of getting SEC approval, which we expect to have in the spring of 2021. So right now, if people are interested in becoming a member, I'm sure you'll ask more questions about that. But right now, we're looking for those founding members and that core group of people who says, yes, this is a great idea. I want to learn more, and I'm in.
Cheree, someone is listening and they're saying, I'm raising my hand. What do they need to do now?
So I would offer you the opportunity to come to our website. Our website is the 10K Project. So THE10K project.com, the10kproject.com. Come take a look at the website, read through it, understand what membership means, what it entails, understand our entire process. And then when you are, when you've read through everything and you say, yes, I'm interested, then there's a section where you can become a member. You click on that button, and it is a one-time payment of $100. That's for a lifetime. And what that means is you are able to, number one, have a seat at the table, that table that we're so often, don't have access to. And then number 2, you get to hear all of the pitches on the platform whenever an entrepreneur says, hey, this is my business, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how much money I'm raising. So with membership, you get to hear all the pitches on the platform, and you get to invest in any and all of the pitches that the law will allow, because the law does have some restrictions on the total amount of money any investor can fund. But I would definitely suggest that people come to the website and take a look and know what membership entails, and the rights and privileges of members as well.
Cheree, talk about the name 10K Project. How did you guys come up with that name, and why?
So it comes back to 10,000 or 10K. So the idea that I was saying for 3 years is if 10,000 of us get together, we put in $100 each, that's $1 million. We could start funding our own businesses. So when we started brainstorming names, we wanted something easy and catchy and also something that anybody could say, oh, I get it, and then be able to regurgitate it and pass it along. And it does seem to be working. People, so we started off with just telling people we knew. And now like the third, fourth, fifth generation of people are starting to come to the 10K project now, and they get it and they're able to state that mission like we have it, like we started off originally.
Cheree, there are so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Share with us a brand or a business that's dominating, you admire, and why.
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I'm going to use one that was was 15 years ago, and that's Apple. So when Steve Jobs was alive, Apple was one of the most innovative companies that was out there. And his leadership and his leadership style, many people may not know, he wasn't necessarily the easiest person to get along with. Yet he created a culture with such ingenuity. He was able to release a product and tell a story and get people excited about it to the point where there were lines wrapped around. He had a following, a strong following of people who loved the Mac and loved, all of the products that came out of Apple. And I think that there are lessons that we as Black people can learn from that, from a leadership point of view, from an innovation point of view, from a marketing point of view, and from a business growth point of view as well. Apple is flush with cash, Apple is worldwide. And I really do admire the ingenuity and the business practices of Apple, like I said, a decade ago.
That you knew that the 10K project was going to be successful.
I think there were a few aha moments, and I think it's still a little surreal for me as well. So I'm not quite quite there, but definitely one point was when we started doing focus groups, and people were willing and eager to come to the focus groups and eager to tell us. We had entrepreneurs eager to tell us their stories about how they went to other crowdfunding portals and how they were rejected, and give us information with regards to what would have made that experience better, the experience of rejection, the experience of acceptance. We started having people referring people, and it's great to have people refer, like regular people, which, we love. However, they started referring other accelerators to us, and incubators and venture capitalists. We did a pitch competition with 9 other female founders of color. And it was a business plan pitch competition. And the MC, after everyone did their pitches, the pitch that they remembered was ours and the 10K project and what it meant. And I thought that was very interesting. And now, we have people like Alelia Bundles, who is the great-great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker, following us. We have Dr. George Frazier and Dr. Dennis Kimbrough coming to speak to our community. We've had very well-known individuals within the Black community starting to comment on our social media or sending us emails privately saying, thank you so much. We had a state legislature member of the Georgia State of Representatives email me yesterday saying that she saw information about us and way to go, and let us know if there's anything you need. This is gaining traction and steam in the way that I knew it, yet I'm so humbled by it, and I know that there's more to come than even this, So yes, there's been a lot of aha moments.
Cheree, what are you most grateful for right now in your life?
Oh gosh, I am grateful for having a mission, and having people understand that mission and say, yes, we're on board with it. And it's not from a pompous point of view, but it's really very humbling. Years ago, I wrote a book when I started writing business plans. I wrote a book called Creating Business Plans That Actually Get Financed. And I had finished up the book, and one morning, 3:00 in the morning, God kind of taps me on the shoulder, wakes me up, and says, you're going to help entrepreneurs raise $1 billion in funding. And I thought God meant that I was going to do it through writing business plans. And I was working with writing business plans and doing all of this. And oh my goodness, it always stayed in my mind. I actually wrote it down in my book. I said, God has touched me. He's told me that this is going to happen. I don't know why it's not happening fast enough. And now all of a sudden, with the Jobs Act of 2012, which was passed, and the legislation was finalized in 2016, and me meeting my co-founders in 2018 and coming together with them, you're humbled because everything happens in God's time. I know this isn't Steve Harvey saying, but I heard him say it first, is if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, and I realized that God was putting certain things in place for this period of time. Even at the beginning of the year, we had no idea of the social unrest, for example, that was going to happen. We had no idea of COVID or anything like this when we started talking about putting the 10K project together. And now we're at this point where everyone is just so much more alert about Black economics and how we can come together in order to win as a community. So I'm very humbled by all of that.
Cheree, talk about your why. Why the 10K project?
I personally, I just see excellence all around me. I see excellence in so many Black entrepreneurs that if they had an infrastructure and they had the funding and they had the chance, where would they be? And I think a primary why is that so many entrepreneurs that we see, their ideas, die with them, or they see it, years later and someone else has profited from it. I've also seen on the other end with investors, so many of us are left out because we don't have certain social networks. So I'll give you an example. I was in a conference. It wasn't really a conference. It was more like a meeting of about 12 or 13 people. I went there in New York, and I was listening to this panel, and all of a sudden this guy talks about this company that he is, he's opened it up to a certain number of investors. And it just got me thinking, how many of us aren't at those tables? They aren't in those rooms. No one is ever letting them know that this is an opportunity. And I want to see our people win. And the way that we win is by having more of us have the ability to hear great businesses being pitched, because that's when the lion's share of the profit is made. And more of our entrepreneurs having the ability to be able to pitch and say, hey, with $300,000, I can hit this milestone and we can have a very successful business. So that's my why, is being able to see more of our families build generational wealth. That's important to me.
Cheree, talk about your top 2 influencers in your life and what lessons did they teach you?
Oh, goodness. I will say I'm going to have one combined from the personal point of view, and that's my mother and my grandmother. So strong Black women My grandmother was born in 1912 in Bruley, Louisiana, a little town in Louisiana, and she, marched with Dr. King, and she, sold war bonds in World War II, and she was just such an inspiration, that true matriarch of the family. And my entire family really pushed education. My mother was an accountant and a bookkeeper and a paralegal, and the strength that she had. Even my father teaching me about financial literacy in his own way when I was, a little girl. I think that I definitely had a very strong family unit, and I was very blessed with that. And I think that the biggest lesson that they taught me was that we have to be 3 times better in order to be on the same level as everyone else. But what I do is I bring that into the 10K project as a community and as a collective, and say, how can we, have great customer service, and how can we have the best product possible, and how can we bring the best entrepreneurs that we can find to the platform. And it's also caused me to have a bit of a competitive nature, a collaborative competition, right? It is what we have. So I would say my family, my mother, my grandmother, and my father is kind of, one collective unit. And then the other person from a business point of view is, I will say, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who is coming to speak with us on August 18th at 7:30 in the evening. So I had read Think and Grow Rich, right? And don't know if your audience is familiar with that book by Napoleon Hill, but it wasn't until I read Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, that I saw myself as, oh, I can do this too. There are other successful Black people. And the way that Dr. Kimbrough wrote that book, it wasn't just about money, because a lot of the people were married. They were married for many years. They had strong family. They had strong faith. They were well-rounded people. And I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. But I think that this life is not just about money. It's about the whole person, our health, our spirituality, what we're doing in society in order to make the world a better place. And I see the 10K project as my legacy, the thing that I'm able to leave this world with and say, you know what, I was here and I did something that will hopefully change millions of lives in the United States. So, and abroad too.
And you may have touched on this when you speak of legacy. When it's all said and done, Cheree, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be, first of all, remembered as a good person that added more than she took out, and that made a difference. That's always been my aim. I also, now with the 10K project, I do see the legacy as, how many jobs can we create? How many strong businesses can we create? How many families can we bless? Or strengthen? How many young people can we offer internships to in the businesses that we're funding? How many young people can we go into their schools and teach financial literacy at an age-appropriate and fun level? How many people can we bless in terms of the types of careers that they see are available to them? How many people can we take out of poverty and help them get into the middle class or even the upper middle class? And my legacy is at least leaving something where people who want it and who are hungry for it have a place that they can come where, the information is there, they're able to digest it and consume it, and then be able to implement it in a practical manner. So, yes.
Cheree, what can we do right now to support the 10K project?
Well, there are a couple of things. Number one is come to our website and download our ebook. Again, the website is the10kproject.com. You're able to come and download our ebook. Our ebook is the information with regards to how the 10K project is being pulled together. When you download the ebook, you're also a part of our email list. And once you're a part of our email list, then we will send weekly updates to you with regards to the webinars that we're having. We're having financial literacy webinars that are free to the public. We also will let you know how we're progressing with regards to membership. We invite people to a live Q&A session every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then at that point, if you decide, hey, I want to be a member of the 10K project, we would welcome people for that as well. So membership is $100. It's a one-time payment. It's a lifetime payment. You'll never be charged for membership again. And that is one of the biggest and best ways that people can help is to become a member. And then the third thing is we're always looking for additional press. We love doing interviews like this, whether it's podcasts or YouTube lives or Facebook lives. I tell people, I don't care if it's 2 people watching and the host and I will show up in order to talk about the 10K project. If you have a pastor who's progressive and you have a membership who would like to have their own webinar, we will come and we will talk about the 10K project. And then just spreading the word to your like-minded friends as well. So yes, those are the 4 ways that people can help.
Advice you wish you had followed?
Ooh. I wish that I had started saving sooner. I think everyone feels like that. I wish that I had, but I'm not in a bad space right now. But yes, I wish that. I'll tell you personally, I wish that I had taken my health more seriously a decade ago. Again, my health is not bad today, but you always wish that you had started those types of things sooner. So those are 2 really big things.
And speaking of health, talk about self-care. Mm-hmm. What does self-care look like right now for Cheree?
Well, I think there is mental self-care, especially as a people. Some of us may be going through hard times, and anything from yoga to Pilates to taking a brisk walk. I take a brisk walk for about 40 minutes a day. Really helps with that. So mental, I think there's physical, self-care. So ladies, everything from working out to I've got a great scrub that I use, taking a bubble bath sometimes and with some really great music and decompressing. I think all of those things are important. And I think also spiritual self-care as well. If you believe in God or Yahweh or Buddha or whatever it is that you practice, staying in tune and staying prayed up. That's one of the big things that I do is, I stay prayed up, especially now with what we're doing with the 10K project and the amount of lives that we want to help. And self-care really is about, in my opinion, no matter how bad things may be, that you still have a certain amount of peace of mind. And that's easier said than done when maybe you have more month than money, or maybe your child isn't doing some of the things that you want them to do, but still having some sort of way to have some peace of mind in spite of all of the storms that happen. And yes, it's easier said than done. I know, Dr. Francis.
Cheree, talk to a younger Cheree. what advice would you give a younger Cheree?
Oh, wow. I'll tell you one piece of advice that that I would give myself, and that is to not be afraid to change jobs sooner, faster. So why do I say that? When I started off, after I graduated from college, I started off as an administrative assistant. And I stayed at that organization and underpaid for longer than I should have. About a decade later, I was working with some gentlemen, and it just so happened that I saw their pay versus my pay, and they were making $20,000 more per year than I was. And I had to sit back and ask, well, why was that? And yes, I could have blamed it on being Black, being female, et cetera, et cetera. But I realized one of the things that they had done when I looked at their resumes was every couple of years they switched jobs. And every time you switch jobs, you usually get paid more, you usually get more responsibility, you usually go up the ranks. So they went up the ranks faster than I did because they switched jobs and they were very strategic in how they approach their careers. So I know that's a little bit different than maybe a lot of people would say, but that was one of the big things that I wish I had done.
Cheree, what problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
Business funding for Black entrepreneurs. That is the problem that I'm solving or helping to solve. I know I can't do it all, but yes. So that business funding for Black entrepreneurs, and also the ability for regular people to invest in those businesses and earn a return on investment as well. And I have to say, a SEC attorney will say this: we can't guarantee returns on investment, but we are hoping and praying that some of our investments do well, and that people will see, like, wow, this is a great collective, great community, and some of the investments that they've made will pay off.
What is something, if anything, that keeps you up at night?
Things keep me up at night, definitely. So fear of failure, definitely fear of failure keeps me up at night. Concern that I am not doing enough for the people in our community. I'm leading this charge, and always concerned about my leadership style. Am I pushing people enough? Am I pushing them the right way? Am I saying things properly so that I can get the results that we're looking for? Am I resonating with people? Even as we're sitting here talking, am I resonating with you? Am I resonating with people in the audience that are listening to this? So a lot of things keep me up at night. And but what I do try to do is also ask myself, have I done the best that I can with what I know? And then are there things that I should know? And if there are things that I should know, how can I find that out? How can I investigate that or read about it or, talk to the right person about it? And I balance that out, and then I go to sleep.
What is your biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur?
The biggest challenge is a little bit of the uncertainty, but I'm used to it now because I've been an entrepreneur full-time for 15 years between my mother's business that I worked with her and then my business. So I'm a lot more used to it now, but there is uncertainty. There are certain times where, boy, I wish I had that every other Friday check, right, that's coming in. However, I know that there is an upside to being an entrepreneur as well, and I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it.
What is your best discovery?
Ooh, I would say only reason I'm going to say the 10K project is because I have worked with other companies and other entrepreneurs that have had an idea that's just resonated with the public so well that they've been able to say, this is what I'm doing. And people immediately say, I'm on board, with it. And I had never been in the position as the entrepreneur to have that type of an idea. And I think that this is a great discovery and a great opportunity. And also the time is right as well. And I do think that the discovery for other entrepreneurs who want to learn from this is, finding something that people can hear about it and it resonates with them and you're able to build a community and a tribe around it.
Cheree, your company, the 10K Project, you guys are in the funding business. Talk about finance and funding the 10K Project. How did you fund that?
Out of our own pockets. So we, the co-founders, put in money originally in order to get the, legal stuff, infrastructure stuff together. And then we were honest with ourselves. We said we can't fund this entire thing on our own. So we became creative, and that was part of the reason. That wasn't the only reason we had membership, but that was part of the reason. There's legal bills, which if I could have paid the entire legal bill. However, I wouldn't have had any money for marketing and things like that, and the other team members as well. So we said, let's get the community to help us as well. And that was part of the reason why we have the memberships, is because of that. And people are willing. They get it. They see that we're trustworthy people, and they're on board with that. So I think that funding needs to. So you asked us how we funded our own company, and that's the answer. But I think funding in general. I've worked with a lot of companies that have received funding, that have tried to receive funding, and I think that people need to be honest with themselves about the types of funding that they should pursue. So there are some people who come to me and they will say, I'm going to go for a bank loan. And then they tell me the type of business that they have, and I say, a bank most likely will not approve your business. Because, for example, you have a business that is a technology product that's going to take 4 years for you to be cash positive. Well, that doesn't make sense, or they want the money and they don't necessarily need to borrow money. I've had a lot of calls like that too, where people will say, oh, I need business funding. And I say, no, all you need are some flyers and some business cards and a website, that could cost $20 on Wix and you're ready to go. Sometimes with businesses, I'll say this, Dr. Francis, sometimes with businesses and funding, people overcomplicate it too. They overcomplicate it. And I think that that's one of the things that I do well within my business plan writing company is I try to make it the funding process as simple yet realistic as possible. And there's not a lot of that advice out there for people.
As consumers, potential investors, information should we know about your industry that we don't know?
So crowdfunding is divided up into what we do, which is equity crowdfunding, meaning that companies are allowing or selling shares or partial ownership in their companies to the crowd, meaning the people, the group of investors. There are different types of crowdfunding, though, that happens. And some of it is rewards-based. So you'll see, for example, companies like Kickstarter that are rewards-based, meaning that you put money in and you get a mug, or you get the product pre-ordered or things like that. And then some of them are donation-based. So GoFundMe is a very popular example of that. GoFundMe, where it's donation-based. Someone needs money for a funeral, the crowd or a group comes together in order to help donate for that. The other thing is that as we progress, and we're starting to see this in the economy right now, as we progress, The amount of money that is going to be raised through equity crowdfunding will begin to surpass the amount of money that's raised through traditional venture capital and become very close to the amount raised through bank loans. And for the Black community, I honestly see that happening faster than any other community. I see for the Black community where this will most likely become one of our primary methods of raising funds outside of like credit cards and, close family and friends.
Cheree, let's switch gears for a moment. Talk about risk. Talk about the worst moment in business and what was your takeaway?
So there's a lot of risk that I've had. I've lost money. Let's just say that I've lost a lot of money in business, and every business is a risk for multiple reasons. Even if the business has been around for 28 years, I worked with a business that was around for close to 3 decades. They raised money and the business still didn't take that money and move the needle like it could have. And that happens as well. Every business has an element of risk. However, I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. The team that you invest in is oftentimes more important than the product or service itself. And I'll give you a great example. In this COVID world, there were some businesses that pivoted when COVID happened. The team got together, they said, okay, this bad thing has happened. What do we do next? I know, for example, a woman who was making vodka before COVID happened. She immediately switched and she turned into making hand sanitizers, right? We know some people that immediately started making masks. We know some logistics companies, for example. I know a woman in Texas that bought several acreages of land in Texas and is doing a truck stop because she knows that the truckers are going to need more places to park and things like that as we get the supply chain up and running again. So one of the ways to mitigate risk is by investing in a great team that is able to pivot as things happen. And that's just a natural part of life. I have lost money primarily because I've invested in the wrong teams. I've invested in wrong teams that didn't know what to do when things didn't work out in the manner that the business plan, was laid out. And let me say this, as a business plan writer, nothing ever goes according to how the business plan is going to work. I'll say that, as a professional. However, a great team is able to say, you know what? This isn't working the way that we thought it was going to work. What else can we do? Are we agile? Can we move quickly? The worst thing that you can have is a lot of bureaucracy in your small business or in a small business. And I think that that's where risk can be mitigated.
Cheree, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
Oh, wow. I don't know, a great question that I would have asked myself, because you asked me a lot of great questions. One question we had in another interview was, where do we see the 10K project in the next decade, in the next 10 years? And we had to sit back and actually, think about that in order to answer it. And our answer was that we want to create a community and an ecosystem where the majority of Black Americans have a positive impression and are positively affected by the 10K project. So what do I mean by that? Some people will be affected because they will be entrepreneurs who are receiving funding. Some people will be affected because they are, when that entrepreneur raises money, they receive jobs or they received independent contractor engagements because of the money that was raised. Some people would be affected because we are going to have financial literacy help fund financial literacy programs all across the nation. And some people may, go to a credit repair class or how to make more money class or things like that are sponsored by the 10K project. Some people will be affected because they'll be entrepreneurs and their families will be investors, and their families will be investors, and they may get a return on investment from one of or many of the projects that they're putting money into. Some people may be affected because their kids are going to start watching these pitches and say, Mom, Dad, I didn't know that was a career. I didn't know that was an industry. I want to start learning about that. And all of a sudden, their kids are going to get engaged in an industry or in an occupation that they never would have known had existed were it not for the 10K project. So what I mean by that overall is, could we create something like an Ebony back in, the 1970s, 1980s, where Black families looked forward to receiving that because it helped them stay in the know, it helped them understand what was happening, and it provided great advice and great information, on a micro level as well as a macro level. I would love for us to have that kind of impact.
Cheree, we come to the part of our interview. It's called the Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. Sure. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I'm ready.
The last movie you saw?
Madam C.J. Walker movie on Netflix.
You relax doing what?
Singing.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Whitney Houston.
Your favorite dance song?
Oh my goodness. Probably something by Janet Jackson, like Escapade or something like that.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Veggie burgers.
Your favorite month?
August.
Work out or hit the couch?
Oh gosh. Hit the couch.
Cheree, thank you so much for spending time with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, why don't you share with our audience the best way for our audience to connect with you and support the 10K project? Feel free to give all your social media handles and any information for contact.
Thank you, Dr. Francis, first of all, and everybody who's listening for having me today, for listening to our story. We are at the10kproject.com. That is our website. You can find us on Facebook at Black 10K Project, on Instagram, Black 10K Project, on Twitter, Black 10K Project, on YouTube, on Periscope, everywhere. Black 10K Project is where you can find us. And please join the community. We have great free webinars that we're doing. We also, for example, if you join, then we also have some inner circle or membership only webinars that we do as well. And they are very, very high impact and a lot of practical information in there. So yes, please join us. Every social media place, Black 10K Project, and our website is the10kproject.com.
Thank you, Cheree. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.